So there's been a lot of talk when it comes to development race in Formula 1 in 2025 and how much time and resource the teams will place on this year, because of course in 2026 we've got a massive regulation change coming, and all of the work that is done this year for the 2025 car will effectively be redundant by the time the 26 season comes in. So teams, particularly on either smaller budgets or teams that are very much underperforming, so the likes of Haas when it comes to small budgets, with Williams as well of course, and teams that are underperforming, you'd have to say the likes of Alpine and of course Aston Martin in there as well. They might well switch off development really early, even before the season starts. And Haas have kind of alluded to doing something similar to that. They're saying now that they're going to race a tweaked 2024 car in 2025. So let's have a look at the quotes here, guys. Let's have a look at the full article that is on the F1Chronicle.com as always, guys. Many Formula 1 teams will effectively race 2024 specifications cars this season, according to Haas's technical boss. Andrea De Zordo, who took over the Mercedes-bound Simone Resta early last year, admitted to Italian outlet Formula Passion that Haas will use the same chassis in 2025 and much of the existing bodywork as well. The Italian also thinks that other teams will take a similar route, and we would be surprised if they didn't. Some teams, notably top teams including Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes and Red Bull, have emphasised that even though the huge technical revolution for 2026 is looming, they will still unveil substantially modified cars this year. But De Zordo says it's a different story for the smaller teams such as Haas. The challenge for 2026 is extremely big, and we need to somehow save elsewhere, not only financially but also in terms of our own resources, he confirmed. Some see the massive chassis and power unit regulations overhaul for 26 as a shame, given how tightly contested last year's World Championship was. And I have to admit that is a bit of a shame from a racing point of view, but Formula 1 has its own objectives when it comes to net zero, and unfortunately to meet those they're going to have to do radical changes such as this. But yeah, from a racing point of view, it's a crying shame, to be fair, it really is. But we've got one more season of hopefully very close racing at the front. F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali admits that 2026 is unlikely to be an ultra-competitive season in the sport's history. With the new regulations, it's always like that, he told Italy's Autosport magazine. But I won't forget that when the rules for 2022 were introduced, the teams were complaining that the cars would be 6 seconds slower, he smiled. We then saw the field coming together in recent years. In 26 we'll start again with fresh rules, which means a lot of challenges and a lot of things that we can work on. I do expect the field to spread out again at first, but then everyone will come together again. The cars are designed for that, added Domenicali. So I'm not worried. We have to look at the big picture, not individual details. It's normal that there are conservative approaches for the teams, but we have to think big. Yes, problems will certainly arise, but the new designers will also help in this regard when it comes to the sport and the technical changes. We want to maintain the evolutionary and positive tension for competitors who see our Formula 1 as development platforms for the future. Well, that's the thing, isn't it, with F1? You know, it's not only a ultra competitive high-octane sport, it's also a development program for a lot of new technologies. You know, when it comes to that engine stuff in particular, I imagine a lot of the stuff they'll do in the 26th thing will eventually make it through to the road cars. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how it kind of goes. I mean, I feel like a lot of teams are just going to see how they perform early on. Like, for example, Aston Martin, I think that's one of the biggest examples, and I've spoke about that in a video recently as well, where Alonso's like, yeah, we're not going to win anything this year. And I agree, I don't think they will, because, you know, they're simply too far behind. That development gap between them and the top four, even with a genius like Adrian Newey there, it's too big to plug. And even if they do manage to plug it, it's just going to be for this year, and they're not going to win championships. 26, on the other hand, they have a chance of doing that. So for the teams that have a smaller budget, such as Haas, such as Williams, they are going to have to really focus on the 26 car very early. And by the sounds of things, by what De Zordo is saying there, you know, it very much seems as though Haas are going to run a B-spec car in all but name. It'll be the VF25, whatever they'll call it, but really it'll be a VF24B, really. And I think there's a few teams that will do something similar. I'd be shocked if that's not the case. But guys, what do you think? What can Haas achieve this season? And are they doing the right thing by effectively running a B-spec car in this season coming up? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below as always. Like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell as well, and we'll see you very soon for some more F1 content here on the F1Chronicle.com. And yeah, guys, have a good one.